Hi guys, this is so great that we're all getting together and going to do some drawing. My name is Lauren Renzetti and I work at the AGO with these other lovely people, and I'm an instructor in the gallery school. And why don't we introduce the gang? Who else is here?
My name is Doris, and I was leading the talk yesterday. It was as though we were in the gallery looking at Kazuo Nakamura and Vasily Kandinsky. And I did raise the words to start discussion, organized chaos. And so I pass the baton to you, Lauren, with those words. And yeah, we'll
Sounds good.
move on to Gavin.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Gavin O'Hara. I'm a gallery guide with the art gallery, so one of the volunteers, and my day is Thursday, so if you're available on a Thursday, please feel free to come down and say hello. Mostly I provide talks and tours on the artworks in the gallery.
Okay, my name is Janet Sandler. I am also a gallery guide. I'm a gallery guide on Wednesday. I do exactly the same thing Gavin does. I provide tours and talk to the public about artworks at the AGO.
Great. Well, this is a pretty good group then. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a drawing based on Lauren Harris's work. And I had done a couple of pieces beforehand just when I was doing my own class individually. So this is sort of based on my own work and Lauren Harris's work. And that's in watercolor pencil. And this one is in marker. And I decided to go with hexagons in that one. And then this is just an example of one of his squished a little bit. It's not quite in proportion. And this side is in marker and the other side is in watercolor pencil. So there's a wide variety of things you can do. Generally, it's creating a geometric pattern or design. What I mentioned to the students was that they could do little tiny thumbnails to kind of just do a quick little idea of what they were having. I'm sure you've already got many things in your head, so hopefully you've got some things to be working with. And in terms of tools, I've actually got templates, and I'm going to be using templates, pencil, Sharpie, and watercolor crayons because you can blend with them quite nicely. What's everybody else using? Doris?
Okay, so very close to me. I have a nice kind of roll of tape, so it gives me a circle. I don't want to advertise for Excel, but so I got a gum pack. I could do a rectangle. I have a Sharpie like you. I have highlighter and pencil. How's that sound?
Sounds great. All right. How about you, Gavin?
I think we went to the same shop because I found this old flow charting template from ancient history. So
okay, and are you using crayon, marker?
Pencil, crayons, Sharpie, a ruler, and most importantly, an eraser.
Okay. All right. How about you, Jeanette?
Well, I'm going to do a collage-based version. So I'm going to be using this piece of paper, which I've already taped off. I'm going to be using water and something called bleeding tissue, which you can wet and put on the paper, and it makes a really nice color, vibrant color. And I've got some nice sort of papers to cut up and glue down, and I've got my glue stick and my very sharp knife. So I'm hoping I don't hurt myself with this.
Great. Oh, that's so fun. I'm really excited about that. Okay, yeah. So a couple things you need to think about is Kandinsky and Harris were both about landscapes that were kind of abstracted. So, and it's not that you have to even go with that mode. You could potentially be abstracting almost anything. But the thing that's nice about a landscape is there's maybe some sort of horizon line, maybe there's something in the sky, and that there can be interesting shapes, whether that's tree shapes, mountain shapes, water shapes, rock shapes, and any of those things work. We're going sort of geometric, partly because a ruler is in play. So, you know, going with free form is optional for sure, but you decide on that. And so thinking about that, it could even be a city scene if you wanted to, since we're in our urban setting more so than rural. And you're going to draw it out lightly, sort of in pencil first, where you think you want things to go. for yourself, Janet, I would just say, you know, creating some shapes in your paper and then just moving them around and figuring out how they fit nicely before you start gluing down, just so you're not committed to, oh, I didn't mean to do that. And we're going to work, we're going to work back to front. And that's especially true for you, Jeanette, because you don't want to put your background on top of all your foreground stuff.
Right. Yes.
So thinking background to foreground, so things that are in the distance first and then moving things forward. If you're using a Sharpie, then the pencil crayon or the crayons or markers won't bleed. But if your pen is not permanent, don't use your highlighters afterwards. Use your highlighters first so that it doesn't bleed in together. All right. And so let's get started. And I'm going to bend my camera down just so that you can see what I'm doing here. I've drawn mine out already, but I want it to be in a heavier line with a Sharpie. So I picked these two pieces out because I find that when people are drawing and they don't have something to look at, it's sometimes fun to just use templates and things around you like tape dispensers and things like that. But in terms of my own practice, I tend to not be that geometric. No, Doris, you're an artist. What kinds of practices do you use, materials do you usually use?
Well, I mean, I've traditionally, like way back, was a landscape painter.
Oh, wow.
So the fact that I'm in, you know, mixed media now and assemblage is a big change. So I sadly have kind of let drawing go to the wayside too often, and it's something that I know I have to practice continuously because it's a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it gets lazy.
Yep, you got that right.
That's true.
Yeah, Jeanette, you're an artist. Tell us
Yes.
about your practice.
Oh,
I mean, I like to do art. Collage is sort of a newer thing for me. And I actually quite like it because it actually helps me be a little looser. I used to be very into realism, and then I wanted to kind of have more fun. So I'm enjoying collage for that reason.
Oh, that's great. And so if you're not normally in collage, what do you normally, what's your go-to?
Like I said, I've done sort of a lot of, well, not so much now. Life is busy, but you know, I did drawing, painting. I love oil painting, but you need good ventilation for that.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing now. I just wet the paper and then I wet the tissue paper on the paper, and it leaves a nice color behind. Then you have to figure out what to do with the wet tissue paper.
That's lovely.
The blue is already reminding me of the Nakamura painting we looked at.
I think that's what I was thinking, actually.
Yeah, his work is fabulous. He is one of my all-time favorite heroes of the gallery. Oops, uh-oh.
Sorry. I think I'm
No,
going to have to change how I do this. I was a little concerned.
You've got some energy going on there.
Well, at least it didn't break. Thank goodness for that.
My iPad just collapsed.
Yikes. And Gavin, are you a practicing artist as well, or appreciator, or?
More on the appreciation side than on the production side.
Okay.
I've been trying to, I mean, most of the creative work I do is photographic.
Oh, great.
So I've been working for years and trying to develop an eye for interesting images. I am attracted to abstract shapes and combinations, interesting combinations. And it was interesting because the Kandinsky piece reminded me of a photo I had taken in Victoria a few years ago of an odd kind of piece of public sculpture, which had a lot of the same elements. So I thought, well, why don't I try and combine the two?
Right.
That's
Oh,
so
that's
interesting.
very neat. Yeah, photography is so fabulous because it's all about the composition, right? And people have a hard time trying to figure that out. So good on you. All right. So how are people figuring out shapes?
I'm
Good.
allowing a little bit of happy accident here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to angle this so it's sort of like this now with a white stripe, but we'll see where we're going from there.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, neat. Yeah, that's lovely.
The
Very-
tape I'm using, I'll never be able to remove it. So I have to work with it.
Okay, hopefully, is it a good color at least?
No, but you know what? I don't mind. Like it's a little beige so far.
Oh, neat.
Okay.
Nifty.
Now I just realized I need to wait for this to dry, but I think we'll just go with happy accidents,
Yes,
whether
absolutely.
it dries or not.
Yeah, I find that when I'm using tape on paper, if you put it against fabric, then it's not so sticky.
Yeah.
But, and blue tape is way less sticky than the green tape. That's the.
Is that right?
It's
Okay.
way more expensive too, which is annoying, but it does do a good job. The other thing, a fellow teacher of mine, Brian Hawks, who teaches watercolor painting in the AGO, what he does is he actually, when he takes the tape off, he blow dries it, and what happens is it stretches the elasticity of the glue, and so then it doesn't rip the paper as much.
Oh, that's a great tip, because I have had that where I've had something I'm quite happy with, and then I peel off the tape and it rips some of the paper, which is never.
It's so disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were mentioning Nakamura. Why I really like his work, specifically the ones where he's doing the blue period with the really lovely straight angled shapes and a lot of depth, is because I had heard that the main way he had made those was making sculptures, welding metals together, putting a light source on it, and then painting from that. And I just thought that was brilliant because there was so many steps involved just to get an abstract painting. I love the fact that it's monochromatic, like it's all just sort of one color with white or black added to the blue.
Yes. There's something very zen about his work, which is why I liked it.
Yeah, and I like that you're mentioning his sculpture, Lauren, because we didn't talk as much about his sculpture as much as about his love of mathematics.
Right. Oh, he's a math guru for sure. He was one of the few of the Toronto style painters where his methodology was really planned out. It wasn't just random, like sort of the abstract expressionists, except for say maybe Agnes Martin, but he was really, it didn't come from nothing, it was really, there's a lot of thought behind it. And I think that that's also true of Lauren Harris's work. I mean, he still sticks truly to the notion of the mountainscape, even in these two pieces that we kind of are using as a jumping off point. There really is, you can easily see where a mountain exists and where there's plains and different values of color in there. And he's keeping it quite muted in tone too. He's not using every color under the sun within his paintings.
There's something very spiritual about Lauren Harris's work, at least, he gets sort of simpler and simpler. And as I said, I know he was interested in theosophy.
Yeah.
So finding spirituality in nature.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and his counterpart, Emily Carr, was all about the spirituality in nature. And I think they rubbed off on each other to a certain extent. Her notion of rhythmic and repeated action of the breathing of the planet, where you have
is that right?
That echo, the one that is the and I'm blanking out the name of it, but it is piece that's on the main floor of the 7 or 8 straggly, tiny pine trees, very, very tall and thin.
Mm.
And behind, you see that rhythm of movement in the background. And she was, I mean, she was deeply spiritual and religious, but it was mostly about, you know, Gaia, Mother Earth breathes for us, right? And I mean, that piece just brings me to tears because, you know, she's showing us all those tree trunks that are broken and busted up at the bottom, and the clear cutting has taken over, and those trees are not going to make it.
Right.
You know, they're not.
Oh,
Right.
Lauren,
A strong wind, they're going to fall down any minute. You know?
you're talking about what she referred to as the screamers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. That's right. Thank you.
Is that one up in the gallery right now?
Hopefully. I don't know. I haven't been there in 4 months.
Right.
I think it's right beside the church in Newquat Village.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And it's in the same room as the West Wind.
Yeah.
Totally.
But,
Yeah.
and I mean, she actually, when we had the show about her work a few years ago, they were showing an amazing amount of pieces that were all now in the room that's sort of where Kusama's mirrors is. And the thing that was interesting was she actually pretty much single-handedly changed how logging came about or stopped in BC. She wrote thousands of letters in protest and how they weren't planting quickly enough, and they were just totally clear cutting as opposed to taking a third of the trees. And she had these huge fundraisers where she was actually asking people to give money to the paintings, and she would write these poems and lovely little stories on the back of the location of where these trees were and how they'd all been cut down, and they could stop that through their money and through stopping the government. I thought that was kind of
It's nice to see art being used for social activism. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that the AGO had Black Lives Matter commentaries and taking affirmative action and saying, hey, we're here for these people who are being murdered and downtrodden.
Yes, yeah. And also sort of thinking how we can bring that conversation into the gallery and have different voices, you know, because I guess, I know when I went to OPAD in the 1980s, and I took art history, and we just learned Western European art history, and it never occurred to me to question that the pieces we saw, that we were missing voices, and that there were other voices out there, that including women, I might add. Yeah.
No, that's I think it's really great that we're being a part of that positive attitude.
Yes, definitely.
It makes me feel proud of the AGO. And that's what, I mean, I think that's what art is for, is it's not just I'm viewing the world, I'm actually making an opinion. And you know, if I wanted it to be exactly what I was seeing in front of me, you know, yes, I'd take a photograph, but it's also my reaction to it is an important aspect. As a photographer, Gavin, how do you put your own voice into your photographs?
I think that's evolving.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, how you choose to represent something. And actually the whole idea of bringing in different voices, I've been going to TIFF for 30 plus years now. And one of the reasons I started going to the film festival is I wanted to hear people tell stories in a different way. And the way to do that was to move outside the North American or European approach to narrative. So that still remains one of the best ways to find out how Asian storytelling is done or African storytelling is done. And it tends to be my focus. So I want somebody to show me a different way, and then I can kind of build that into what I do.
I've had some very positive experiences taking
people through the AGO to see, you know, some of the Indigenous voices, or when we had Micheline Thomas, am I getting the name of the artist right?
You are.
Yeah, it was really wonderful to, like, people say, I actually had this one young woman say, I've never seen anyone that looks like me in the gallery before, and she was very excited about it. So,
Oh, that's neat.
yeah.
Doris, you do a lot of tours with kids and youth and teens in the gallery. How do they react to, you know, sort of our Canadian content and Indigenous content?
It's you know, when we say young people, I mean, I work with university students, a lot of English as a second language, or I shouldn't say, like maybe a third language, fourth language, but they are way more aware than we were as students.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I wonder why that is. Is it because of the internet, do you think, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah.
My daughter's now 20 and she is constantly correcting how I say anything,
Right.
you know, about, you know, she's not necessarily, she's an advocate for the LGBTQ2 and Indigenous and, you know, Black Lives Matter. And I can't keep up with the phrases that you're supposed to use now, and they instead of he or she. And so she's constantly correcting me and saying, you know, you can't keep up. And I'm like, no, I can't. But,
Well, that's why it's so nice to listen to all these. I mean, I think as you get older, at least I'm finding, you realize, you know, less and less. And I find it quite, I love being around younger people and people with just, because you learn a lot. Like, I used to always think as I got older, I would know more and be the one departing knowledge, but I'm actually finding it's the other way around sometimes.
you realize you don't know anything. That's what it realized.
Exactly. You got to be hopefully a little more humble, which is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Lauren, I'm getting really nicely absorbed in this, but I'm feeling like I'm nearing the end. I'm not sure. There probably is something I could.
Yeah, let's do a hold up. Okay. Oh, wow. I like what's happening with that. I love the little black dots and the similar lines you have geometrically in there for sure. Nice. Why don't we do another hold up? Gavin, where are you at with yours?
Yeah, sorry.
Neat. I like the wheel component in there. Lovely. And how about, yes.
If you just give me like 30 seconds to glue down one more piece, I will hold it up. You just caught me.
Fair enough, fair enough. So it looks like everybody had some sort of circle in it, which is so far,
yes,
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have, so I've
How
got
about you, Lauren? Do you have ovals, circles? Oh my goodness.
Well, I was thinking that this would be the water, so there'd be this oval sun happening, reflecting. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see. Oh,
actually,
wow.
I think this is upside down.
Yeah, let's see it the right way up. Oh, neat. Oh, I love the.
I feel like I still would like to do some more, but it's coming.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Absolutely. All right. Well, why don't we spend maybe 2 or 3 or 4 minutes tightening it up? Do you have any other colors, Doris, or are you only with the blue and the white and the black?
I guess, you know, I'm kind of thinking Nakamura. I don't know. He's really resonating with me. I'm gonna keep with the blue and the black. And
right. I know that with some highlighters you can put layers on once it's kind of
right.
dry,
Okay.
and it makes it a little bit
more depth
values within it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that maybe that'll make it more kind of interesting in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. And so I'd love to know sort of Gavin, what's your thought process on what it is that you're drawing there? What are you, it kind of reminds me of gears. What are you thinking about while you're drawing?
The piece included a couple of old, I'll call them wagon wheels. So trying to reflect on that. And it was, what I liked about it was the composition, the layering of images, one behind the other, and a sequence moving out towards you. I have to admit, as somebody who doesn't do a lot of drawing, the challenge is how do you do that perspective in a way that makes sense. So I mean, that will come with practice.
Absolutely.
Also the blending of color, because what I like is the idea of a patina, and that's kind of similar, more closer to Nakamura than Kandinsky. Kandinsky tended to use solid colors.
Yes, he was very bright.
Whereas Nakamura, the inner structure piece that we looked at a couple days ago, had this beautiful blending of the blues and greens in the background.
Right.
And even the black lines that were on top, they weren't solid. It looked like they were embedded in that surface rather than floating on top of it.
Yeah. Well, and he uses a lot of dry brushing too, right? So he's using his paintbrush on the tip as opposed to using it flat to create that scratchier mark. His work is wonderful. And in fact, pencil crayon really lends itself to that. So when you're looking at your paper under a microscope, it's a whole bunch of little mountain peaks. And so when you're shading, you might be shading left to right. You're only hitting the west and the east side of the mountain, right? So you could hit north and south, northeast, southeast, west, east. So when you're shading, if you're shading in a bit of a circular pattern or even in diagonals, cross-hatching, then what'll happen is you can get that blending. So if Nakamura is something you're interested in, even just creating a few different colors in a couple of different directions, you'll get that subtlety of tone that he's got going on. So that could be kind of interesting to put that somewhere in your piece, because the wagon wheels seem like a focus, but and I chose this particular project because I thought, you know what, floating is okay. You know, depth is a little bit harder to figure out, but putting things behind other things, having them slightly overlap, gives you that sense, right? So putting something behind it. Jeanette, how are you at? Where are you at now in your, did you add more?
I'm sort of at a place where I'm not, I feel like I don't know if I want to do any more or not. So I'm sort of just looking at it, reflecting and thinking, should I just stop?
Yeah, well, and that is the biggest challenge as a person who's, I consider myself an abstract maximalist, mostly because I don't know when to stop. So if you think you should stop,
I like that maximal.
And we're actually, you know, we have a few minutes left, but you know, contemplating, sometimes putting your work really far away is an aspect. Having it so that you're looking at it from a bit of a distance is definitely something that you can think about. And sometimes turning things upside down, like what does it look like, you know, sideways? What is it? I know these are landscapes and they feel like landscapes, but what does it look like when it's sideways? How does it?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, it just kind of changes the nature of what's going on with it.
And then you can see whether compositionally you're happy with it.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing is if it really only works in one direction, maybe you need to add, like mine's quite static because it's all sort of in the center. If I had some diagonals in it, maybe it would be. I wanted it to be calm, so I didn't want to have too much dynamism in there. Whereas I think Lawrence's has a really nice dynamism because of your angles, even where you put the tape, right?
Well, I feel like, is there such a thing as landscape in space? Because I think I've gone like definitely.
Oh, totally. Oh, you're very Kandinsky-like in terms of the composition.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, he was all about, you know, the cityscape being on a weird angle. He was listening to jazz music, right? So that was a big component of it for sure. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm getting closer to being done here. I don't know if I'm going to finish it right this minute, but I'm using watercolor.
I think I'm going.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say, I think I'm done. So
okay.
I'm just feeling like I don't want to touch it anymore for now.
Okay.
And then
Me too. I have a red pen, and all of a sudden I'm
Yeah.
like, do I dare with the red pen, or do I just don't? Like
Oh, it'll become a focal point right away, right? Because
right away. I know. So I have to be careful.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think
I
I
don't
better
think
wait.
so. Unless you put it in a really minimal, like if you're trying to lead the eye to something, what if it was just
Yeah.
right beside your black line or something?
Okay, okay.
Mimicking but not making a new idea.
You know what? I'm just going to go for it because this is the time to experiment, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what's the worst that can happen? Really?
What's the
That's
worst?
right. What is the worst that can happen? You can always do another one, right?
Exactly. Well, it's funny because we have a lot of artists in the gallery that made the same thing over and over and over again. Nakamura was one, Lauren Harris, looking at Andy Warhol, Agnes Martin. They kept doing the same sort of idea over and over and over again, but just changing it ever so slightly. And I think it's,
I actually, yeah, I understand that. That makes sense to me.
yeah. You know, it's all about, is the composition the way you want it to be? Did it turn out the way you wanted it to be? It can be bordering on obsession, but I think it's also just like Monet was painting the same Charing Cross Bridge. He did it like 47 times, and it was because of the lighting. He liked the composition.
Right.
But
So he must have been a colorist then, because he liked exploring color, the
he
different
was
color.
very
And,
much a colorist, yeah, for sure.
yeah. And they're all beautiful. So.
Yes, well, that's what's funny is a lot of people say, oh, it's because of he's doing it with the mist. But what it really was, it was not fog, it was the smog of London, right? Because they were all using coal. So it might be romantic, but it was probably really a pretty toxic soup that he was living in while painting.
It's like the Brudzinski photos. You look at them and your first reaction is, this is absolutely gorgeous. And then you realize what you were actually looking at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lithium
Very
ponds
true.
in Chile.
That's exactly it, Gavin. Yeah. It was the aesthetics, seduced you, and then you had to start, thinking about it, and it shocked you.
Mm.
Sure.
Oh.
I've decided the beige doesn't work, and I'm taking it off.
Okay.
Scary.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll catch you. We're here to support you in whatever decision you make.
Thank you, Laura. You're the best.
This paper is not ripping the way I want it to.
Well,
Funny, sometimes I have accidents while I'm doing art, and every once in a while one turns out really nice, and is a very happy accident, and I never would have thought of it, but I love it.
Right. Well, I find that as a teacher, that's one of the things is people are just so fearful of, well, what if I wreck it? And it's like, so what? What if you wreck it? You can do it again, and you'll learn something from that wrecking of it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Package, because I took the beige off, but what do you think?
Oh, wow. See, now that one little
Nice.
red dot is fighting for supremacy over the little tiny black dot that's ringed.
I like that.
Yeah.
Like a
So
two.
the thing is that hold up your composition again. The thing that's really nice about it too is the fact that you are wanting to keep looking, your eye. I mean, our goal as an artist is to never let anybody leave our picture, right? And you've totally nailed that because you can't get out of it.
So maybe a few years of art school helped me in the moment anyway.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're pretty close to running out of time here, and I'm running out of things to color in. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeanette,
So Lauren
close?
and Gavin and Jeanette, you helped me. You helped me to get through this. I was a little nervous, to be honest.
Okay.
Well,
you did very well. I could not
Right,
tell that you were
absolutely.
nervous. Yeah.
well,
I'm still, as somebody who works mostly with digital media, I keep looking for the undo.
Right?
yeah, that's right. Well, that is
Command Z.
And that is one thing that is beautiful about digital art for sure, is that you can do the undo. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to actually, when I was making art, not that long ago when I found out about Art Rage and that, I would take a picture of things in each step. And then it wasn't that I could, then I could put it in the Art Rage and then play around with it. Or if I was really
Yeah.
fearful, right? I'd take a design.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah. Actually, that's the nice thing about collage. You can arrange the pieces, take a photograph on your iPhone if you have one, then do another arrangement and then I look at all the photos and I pick the one I like best and go back to it.
That's a great method because then you're removing yourself from it a little bit and you're framing
Yeah.
in something that's not you. You're not there. Printmaking is like that too. Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah,
why don't we hold up all of our art one more time to share just to see where we're at.
Okay.
I'm not sure which way to hold, maybe.
Well, you turn it in a couple of ways then. Let's see.
Yeah.
What does it look like
Maybe this way.
sideways and upside? Ooh, I really like Jeanette's sideways. That's really quite neat.
Sideways good?
I'm assuming that's sideways, but
Gavin, go closer to the camera.
Go closer.
yeah, really close.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like what's happening. You've got a lovely band happening there behind. That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to
And
do
they're all totally different. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
All from the AGO. We're all doing drawings
All-
based on Lauren Harris and Kandinsky and Nakamura, and we're all totally different. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that we should carry on with the rest of our day. I know, Jeanette, you have somewhere else to be. And so what I'm going to say is maybe live with this drawing for a day. And if you want to add some more details or add a little something to it. And then if you could send it to me, I would love to see the finished product. And then we can maybe share it with these folks who are watching us. Sound
Okay.
good?
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Anybody else want to add anything?
That was a lot of fun.
Just a big thank you, Lauren.
Oh, thank you.